In today's video, we're going to talk about the infamous Cali Cartel, as well as the Cali KGB, and interesting events concerning the cartel, its structure, and its counterintelligence. So let's get to it. What is Cali Cartel? It all started in the 1970s when several marijuana traffickers decided to partner up in and around the Colombian city of Cali. They formed the notorious cartel. However, in the following decades, the American demand for drugs was rising, and it was accompanied by the war on drugs, which meant the Cali Cartel had to expand its business. The cartel decided to start trafficking cocaine and heroin as well as marijuana. By the 1990s, the Cali Cartel was functioning more like a multinational corporation than a criminal enterprise. On the outside, the Cali Cartel looked completely normal because it employed marketeers as well as other professionals to carry out the cartel's business efficiently. They frequently used Boeing 727s to transport their goods to Mexico in order to distribute them in the US. Also, it used advanced modern marketing strategies and treated employees with respect, as would any other legitimate corporation. The recruitment process included potential members filling out application forms. As a cherry on the top, the cartel also offered vacations for their workers from time to time. When it comes to the structure, the cartel had to be centralized to successfully preserve its massive drug empire. The cartel was extremely successful, earning billions of dollars a year according to the Colombian Ministry of Justice. Raid on an upscale condominium in Cali. In 1994, the Anti-Narcotics Task Force decided to launch an assault on an upscale condominium in the Colombian city of Cali in the hope of finding drugs and weapons. The owner of the building, Jose Santa Cruz Londono, was Cali Cartel's close associate. Instead of finding drugs or weapons, the anti-narcotics team found an IBM AS400 valued at $1.5 million. As soon as the computer was found, Colombian and American authorities presumed it carried sensitive information about global criminal transactions. The American Drugs Enforcement Agency, DEA, began decrypting files as soon as it took over the computer, but it took them a month to find what they were searching for. The computer revealed that the Cali Cartel had a long list of bribes paid in exchange for support, or at least closing eyes on the crimes committed by the cartel. Also, it revealed the cartel also invested in infrastructure projects, employed thousands, gave favorable loans to businesses, and improved the living conditions in poor areas. By the year 1990, it was involved in approximately 40% of the city's commercial development. The Cali KGB. What was even more surprising, the computer stored phone records and all the vehicle records of Colombia. What makes things even worse is that the cartel was in the middle of a sophisticated counterintelligence operation and was using these records for that purpose. Allegedly, members of the cartel had illegally bought phone records from a phone company in Cali. These records showed who'd been making calls in the area from 1992 to 1994. At the computer center, 4 to 6 technicians were working constantly. They used these records to find calls made to numbers linked to high-profile Americans, including diplomats and DEA agents. Analysts found these numbers suspicious. They used computer software similar to that which intelligence agencies use to track calls between these numbers. If they found more calls, the cartel thought the person was an informant. They would then hack into the person's phone to be sure, and if they succeeded, they would assassinate the guilty person. Unfortunately, by the time the task force found the computer, the cartel had used this information to assassinate more than a dozen informants. In the late 20th century, people started using electronics more and more to talk to each other over long distances. The Cali Cartel's intelligence team realized this was a weak point they needed to deal with, or risk being easily traced and busted. For short-distance communication, they used Motorola walkie-talkies with low-power signals. These were tough to trace because the cartel made them look like normal radio signals you'd expect in any city, like from emergency services or businesses. What's really interesting is that the cartel modified a Cessna 210M aeroplane and installed special equipment on it to listen to the signals, known as signal intelligence, or SIGINT. They regularly flew the plane over Cali to find rival cartel hitmen, mostly sent by the Medellin cartel. This resource apparently helped in the search for Pablo Escobar. Smart and sly use of phones and phone lines. The Cali Cartel was remarkable when it came to the use of phones and phone lines. They used disposable phones that didn't last long, usually even less than a week. To hack into these phones, the authorities needed a warrant, which usually took about a week or two to obtain, meaning the authorities had no way of proving anything against the cartel using only their phones. Besides, the cartel could copy cell phones and use calling cards to make the caller's number look legit. Adding to their exceptional strategy, some employees of the Cali telephone company helped the cartel by redirecting calls. This made it seem like the cartel bosses were in places they were not really in. The cartel also hacked into phone lines a lot, which they couldn't achieve without help from their associates in the Cali telephone company. They monitored hundreds of phone lines during their operations, and a significant number of them belonged to people in authority. Some of them were even politicians or police officers. This way, the cartel could avoid police actions, figure out their political enemies, stay updated on efforts to stop them, and evade any potential assault on them. Human sources and internal measures as important aspects of intelligence work. Even though they used technology to perfection, the Cali Cartel couldn't rely on that alone to be as efficient as it was. Members of the cartel knew they also needed help from people who were working in law enforcement and intelligence agencies. They spent a lot of money bribing police officers, with an average of $25,000 a month. Important people who controlled neighborhoods also received revenue. The most controversial is the head of Colombia's National Intelligence Service, who was on their payroll, earning $1,280 a month. By 1993, it's estimated about 1/3 of all police officers in Bogota, Cali, and Medellin received money from the cartel. They even managed to infiltrate the search block, which is like the American FBI, and got the bug sweepers, the people supposed to find listening devices, working for them. Besides authorities, the cartel also had a bunch of ordinary people working for them, like 5,000 taxi drivers. They had their agents watching the airport and bus stations, always keeping an eye on threats in these places. Besides working closely with people in Cali, the cartel implemented other serious security measures. The cartel only hired people from Cali and nearby areas in order to make sure they were loyal right from the start. Once a new member was hired, the cartel would slowly assign him more tasks and always keep a close eye on how he handled it. Only those who proved their loyalty would later advance. All newbies received training and tips on how to always stay under the radar, how to notice details and things like that. The disbandment of the Cali Cartel. The cartel was exceptionally efficient and successful in many fields at its peak, was even able to rival governments. This remarkable cartel system enabled it to dominate the drug trade. That domination was even more evident after Escobar's passing. The Cali Cartel's days were numbered because they eventually became the biggest enemy of American and Colombian authorities. These authorities looked closely at how the cartel operated and came up with their own countermeasures. Cartel leaders became too paranoid, so they kept getting rid of people, sometimes unnecessarily, and that weakened the cartel badly. When the authorities came into possession of the cartel's equipment, like the AS-400 computer, they found information they could use against the cartel. That made some of the top people in the cartel start thinking about switching sides. One big defector was Jorge Salcido, former head of Cali Security. Not long after he left, the main cartel bosses were arrested, and the cartel fell apart. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and comment on this video. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like what we're doing and want us to continue with more cool content. Until the next time.